So good afternoon, everyone. I'm really happy to be here with you today to talk about this topic that make an obvious link between beauty and health. So in fact, and we assume that all your patients ask you this question very frequently. Can I use something, can I use sunscreen? Use. And this question of trust is a very important one when it comes to photoprotection. So in fact, it's photoprotection, it's a multidimensional topic. And we have to understand all these dimensions to be sure that we can address this global misunderstanding your patients can feel about sunscreen. So first, photoprotection is a public health issue. As dermatologists, you know that better than any other experts. Unfortunately, risky behavior remains. Only 2 out of 5 people protect themselves, and this behavior is even more true for men. As a third of them do not protect themselves from the sun. And the danger is real. UV is the first cause of skin cancer, and the main predisposing factor of this cancer appear to be related to sun exposition during outdoor leisure activity and a history of sunburn. So these factors are directly to the responsibility of each individual. To better understand what leads to the risky choices and behavior, we wanted to know what consumers are exposed to in terms of communication. So we have done a study to evaluate the level of sensitivity of the sunscreen topic in 15 countries from June last year to February this year. And this qualitative and quantitative analysis is based on 3 main drivers: the media and social media attention level, the narrative, and also the stakeholder involvement, stakeholders like you. The good news is that the positive perspective prevails in all countries, with a strong message on skin cancer prevention, and it's mainly thanks to you. The second message is on beauty benefits, especially the prevention of skin aging. And all these messages are carried out by experts, which should be, normally, a convincing argument for consumers. But negative arguments remain, with discussion on health topics, like carcinogenic effects, endocrine disruption, then doubt also on photoprotection level efficacy, and to a lesser extent, on environment. And this bad news, unfortunately, human mind is more sensitive about negative information. That's cognitive bias. So in fact, that's why we must collectively act and redouble our effort to address this issue in the most educational way possible. And during the period of this study, we can discover that it's in the US that we can find the highest level of sensitivity. In this country, 2 main subjects of conversation. The first one is the debate on the safety profile of some organic filters, even if experts and authorities confirm that the concentration of UV filters used is safe. And I take this opportunity to say that at the group level, consumer security is our top priority. So every product that we put on the market is the subject of strict evaluation, not only for human health, but also for safety evaluation in terms of environmental impact. And that's even more true for the active cosmetic division product that follows strict formulation charter. The second debate in the US is the impact of organic UV filters on the environment, especially on coral reefs. And Veronique will come back especially on this topic in a few minutes. The subject is also the reason of sensitivity in Thailand, but also in France, in UK, in Brazil, and is gaining visibility in India, even if there the discussion is mainly driven by vitamin D deficiency. In Germany, this is the sun care product efficiency that is discussed. And in Australia, the conversation is mainly on health, which is normal, knowing the location of this country versus the state of the ozone layer. So to gain the consumer trust, to reassure them, to lead them to protect themselves and to take care of their health, it is necessary to fight against preconceived ideas on three main fields: health, efficiency, and environmental impact. And obviously, the answer to the question, can I use sunscreen use? Yes, it's yes, but it's not sufficient. That's why, in fact, that's the UV rays that we cannot trust, that we should not trust. As dermatologists, you are the most credible for your patients to answer to the question on health, to answer to the question of efficiency of sun protection. And in order to give you some keys, some clue to answer to your patient about the subject of environmental impacts, we have chosen to focus on sunscreen and coral bleaching. And for this, I'm pleased to hand over to Véronique Poulsen, Head of Environmental Safety. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. So, how does it work? Yeah, so of course, there is a lot of controversy regarding the effect of UV filters on corals. And there were many papers, scientific papers, published during the last few years, claiming that the UV filters are responsible for the coral bleaching worldwide. So before answering those concerns, I would like to explain you what a coral is. Coral is a symbiotic organism. It's made of a polyp, which is an animal, and a symbiotic algae. The color of the corals come from the algae. So how does it work? The pointer, yeah. So the color of the coral comes from the algae, which is inside the coral. And when there is a stress regarding that coral, when there is a stress, the coral or the polyp expulses the algae, and then the coral becomes white as its natural color. The stress can come from different points, and especially the temperature. Corals are very sensitive to the variation of temperature. 1 or 2 degrees of increase of the water temperature can lead to the expulsion of the algae from the coral. The coral can live a couple of days or weeks without the algae, because the algae brings the food from the photosynthesis to the polyp. But the polyp, as an animal, and it's the family of anemones, they can capture very small prey in the water. So that means that they can still live without the algae for a couple of days or weeks. When the stress is too high, then the polyp cannot recover and cannot reintegrate the algae inside the polyp part. And after that period, the coral will die. And then that can lead to a death coral reef, as you can see on the right picture. So, as I said, the main stressor is the temperature of water, but it can come from diverse other reasons, as the global pollution, the storms, and more natural reasons. So, regarding that, or facing that concern, what we decided to do at L'Oréal, and it's thanks to the job that has been done by my colleagues from the Environmental Research Lab in collaboration with the Scientific Center of Monaco, they developed a test in order to check whether or not the UV filters had effects on the corals. So they look at 2 main parameters: the survey or the survival of the algae, the symbiotic algae, and the effect on coral bleaching. Based on that research and that development of that test, what we initiated a couple of years ago is based on the requirement of the different brands, the formulas that, and especially the sunscreen formulas, are tested on a specific platform that is based on 3 aquatic freshwater organisms, which are based on standardized protocols that are used worldwide in the regulation, and 4 species that are from the marine environment, including the test on corals. Those protocols, except the one on coral, are standardized as well, but they are not required in any regulation worldwide. So it's a very unique platform that we use in order to ensure that the sunscreen products don't have any harmful effect on the marine environment. In addition to that, because I'm just talked about the effect of corals, what has been done worldwide by different universities especially is to assess the risk for the marine environment. You all know that when you look at the effect, you should also look at the exposure. What is important is that there are many, many studies regarding the exposure of marine environment of containing UV filters, and some UV filters, not all, and we are working on this gap. Some UV filters have been monitored in situ, and especially, for example, in the region of Hawaii. What has been shown is that the concentrations in situ are really, really low compared to any effect that you can show on corals. There are at least 1,000, a factor of 1,000 between the effects and the concentrations where you can find the UV filters. So there are some very recent papers that have been scrolling all the data regarding the effect and all the data that were mentioning the monitoring in situ of UV filters. What this showed is that there is no evidence of any relation between the coral bleaching and the presence of UV filters. The concentrations of UV filters in the environment are much too low to induce any bleaching effect on corals. Of course, it doesn't mean that we don't need to do anything. We are still working on these issues, but once there was someone asking me whether we had to choose between protecting humans from UV rays or protecting the environment. For me, it's not a question. We have to do both. We have to protect the humans against the UV rays and ensure that the UV filters and the sunscreen that we use are not harmful for the environment. So that's how we work, and that's the studies I showed you just a minute ago. And that's really important for you as dermatologists to ensure your clients and your patients that the formulas are not harmful for the environment. Otherwise, we wouldn't put them on the market. Thanks for your attention.